Hi, everyone. We'll get started in a minute. We're just letting folks join. Perhaps we'll go ahead and get started and folks can trickle in as they do sometimes. So welcome to the Choice PhD in Health Economics and Outcomes Research Information session. Thanks for joining. Marina, will you please advance the slide? So here's our agenda. We'll start with a few brief introductions. We'll go through the background of the Choice Institute, talk about the structure of the program, how to apply, and then we'll have a session for questions and answers from you all. Now, the questions can be put into the chat, and we will collect those up and refer back to them at the end. So I'll go ahead and start with the introduction. My name is Josh Carlson. I'm a professor in the Choice Institute and the director of the graduate program here. I do a variety of different research, but primarily I'm focused on economic analyses and policy evaluation related to performance-based risk-sharing agreements and cost effectiveness alongside clinical trials. I teach both in our PharmD program, but also in the graduate program, an advanced class on HEOR methods. I'll turn it over to Anirban.
Hi, welcome. My name is Anirban Basu. I'm a health economist and the director of the Choice Institute. I teach in the graduate program. I teach a PhD level course in causal inference, and my work spans health econometrics, cost effectiveness analysis, and program evaluation. Welcome. Marina?
Hi, everyone. My name is Marina Gano, and I am the Graduate Program and Operations Manager in the Choice Institute. So I am the main staff point of contact for prospective students, current students, and alumni. So it's great to be here and looking forward to sharing more information about our program. Yilin?
Yilin, you're unmuted.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Yilin Chen. I'm currently a fourth-year PhD student at Choice Institute, also a PhD candidate. I have a background and training in public health, also here at UW. Yeah, I look forward to sharing more information from a student perspective.
Thanks. And Yilin is also on our admissions committee, our student representative. We have student representatives on pretty much all of our committees.
Great.
Anirban?
Yeah, so I will start by giving you all an introduction to the Choice Institute and the program, and then hand over to Josh to discuss the PhD program. The Choice Institute, or the Comparative Health Outcomes Policy and Economics Institute, is a hub of health economics on campus at the University of Washington, Seattle. It's one of the global leaders in generating knowledge to improve individual and population health. Next slide. And then our mission spans, obviously, research, training, as we are talking about it now, and service in providing service to many leading organizations and government agencies about making decisions. Next slide. Here is a list of our core faculty. As you can see, we are a very balanced group consisting of assistant professors all the way to professors. This year, we recruited 2 new assistant professors, Dr. Jing Lee, who's a health economist who came from Cornell, and Dr. Kyun Lee, who will be joining us soon. and she's a health decision scientist from Stanford and Pittsburgh. Next slide. Besides our core faculty, we have a wide range of adjunct faculty who are in UW but in other departments, and also affiliate faculty who are in other institutes outside of UW. These kind of researchers and leaders in the field not only are affiliate with us for namesake, but really contribute to our program, are engaged, give lectures to our students, serve as mentors, and also serve on their committees. Next slide. Our staff is led by Marina Gano, who we just met. And also we also have Prochita Ban, who's a research coordinator, and Bettina Schafferel, who's our program coordinator. Next slide. Our students, after getting their PhD from us, have spanned many different paths. The three main ones are academia, industry, and research. About 1/3 of our students go in each of these tracks. Here are some of the names of notable alumni that we had from our program. And more recently, Kai Young, who was assistant scientific investigator at Kaiser, joined as a senior investigator at Amazon. So as you can see, it's a very varied and kind of well laid out options for career going forward. Next slide. Here are our recent graduates who graduated with their PhD this year. Boshin Jiao ended up with a postdoc at Harvard. Enrique Saldariga is doing a postdoc at the CDC in the Prevention Fellowship. And Woo-John Lee took up a job as an analyst in analysis group in the Bay Area. Next slide. Our focus of our program spans, as you know, it's by the name of the program, spans health economics, outcomes research, and policy evaluations that both stresses on understanding and developing theory and methods in these areas, but also applying those in a broad kind of gamut of applications spanning both US healthcare policy and global health. Slide. One of the important feature of our program and the Institute is our commitment to diversity. We have a clearly written mission on diversity that includes improving inclusiveness and acceptance across faculty, staff, and students. We invoke this mission for every decision, including the admission decision that we would be making, and we strive to be as inclusive as possible. Next slide. Students do have access to a variety of databases when they come in. So as faculty, including the Market Scan database, which is, my guess is no longer IBM, it's taken over by some Merative, a company in California, but it is one of the largest employer-based claims databases. The CM Medicare database and restricted access to HRS linked Medicare database and other CMS databases. And they can use them for projects and their dissertations, and so those resources are always available to them. Next slide. If you want to learn a lot more on all the activities going on at the Choice Institute, I would urge you to look up the annual report. It's published every year since last 20 years. The latest is a 2022 report that you can find on our website. And you can see not only our students and what their backgrounds are, but all the wide ranging of research that's going on in the Institute. Next slide. All right, so at this point, I'm going to hand over to Professor Carlson and to talk about the PhD program.
Great, thank you so much. Anirban. Just one quick housekeeping note. You can submit your questions to the Q&A area rather than the chat area, and we will come back to those at the end. So we're going to discuss the structure of the PhD program, and this is a PhD in Health Economics and Outcomes Research, which was a change we made a couple years ago to focus specifically on that. Go ahead to the next slide. So here's the basic overview. We're preparing students to become independent scientists. So that's a main goal, is to teach individuals to become independent. That means developing research questions, understanding what methods are applicable to answering those questions, and taking that all the way through to the completion of a project, including dissemination to relevant audiences. But also leaders in the field. We want our students to go forward and not only be part of the healthcare system, but really lead the way into the future. The main areas are health economics, outcomes research, and policy evaluation. We do have somewhat of an emphasis on the pharmaceutical sector, given that we are in the Department of Pharmacy and the School of Pharmacy, but our students and faculty do this work across other areas as well, including devices, diagnostics, policy evaluation, etc. So that's only an emphasis. We don't exclusively focus on the pharmaceutical sector. Our current mix is about 18 PhD students and 12 PharmD MS fellows. 6 of those are here with us for the given year, and 6 of those fellows are off at industry locations. So we typically have a cohort of 6 MS fellows that come through and are part of the program each year. Go ahead. So the fields of study, we've spoken about this a little bit already, but it is health economics, decision scientists, biostatistics, epidemiology, clinical trial design and analysis, and health policy. And there's coursework, project work, and research that is done in across these fields. And you would expect to be exposed to all of these areas as you went through and received or went towards your PhD. Continue. So our coursework is divided into 4 main pieces. The first is the core courses. So that's the main emphasis of the didactic portion of your training. And we'll go through the specifics, and you can look up the specifics on the website as well in terms of what constitutes our core program. There is also a requirement to take a series of electives. Those are courses that are selected by you from a pre-existing list, that are courses that individual students choose to take to curate their own program and emphasize the areas that they want to focus on. We have a seminar series that is weekly. We actually have 2 seminars. The first is a requirement, and that is our core seminar, where we have presentations by faculty, alumni, adjunct, affiliate professors, as well as being a forum for our students to present either their ongoing work or completed work. It's a great area and a constructive area to work on presentation skills, prepare for meeting presentations, etc. And then the fourth part is independent research and dissertation work. So along the way, you'll be taking, there's a requirement for doing independent research or getting independent study, and that's work that you do under the guidance of a faculty member on a topic of mutual interest. And so there's a certain number of credits that we encourage, or are required rather, to take. And it's a great way to learn and work with faculty members along the way. And finally, there are credits associated with the dissertation development and completion, with a set number of dissertation credits that are needed in order to graduate. Continue. So here is the core program. And again, this is available, and I'm not going to go through all of this, but basically this covers courses in epidemiology, biostatistics, pharmacoepidemiology, health economics and outcomes research, causal inference, etc. And you can see at the bottom, it includes some of these other areas and the required credits that are needed in order to graduate, with covering the dissertation credits, independent study credits, and the seminar series. So this is essentially what it looks like to progress towards your doctoral degree. The first couple years is a focus on completing the core courses. after which, and this is after the second year, students take their preliminary examinations. And that is a series of exams that really tests your knowledge of the core didactic portions of the program. So it's a broad examination period, testing whether you have sufficient knowledge of the field in general. And after that, you begin the process of determining your research interests or your potential research interests into your actual dissertation work. Summer after second quarter is really where you're going to dive in. You've completed your prelims and your core coursework. You're going to dive in and really start to develop your dissertation topic and do some feasibility work around whether data sources are available, who you might be working with in terms of your dissertation committee, who might your dissertation chair be, etc. In the third year, typically we're going to be focusing and actually selecting that dissertation topic, having your committee and establishing your supervisory committee, and writing up your proposals. It has a short proposal and then a long proposal phase. And then you defend that proposal in what's called a general exam or a dissertation proposal defense. This is a public endeavor. There's a written portion that you take a written test. It takes about a week, after which you can move forward to the oral portion, which is again public. And this is really a test to make sure that you have the skills in order to do the dissertation as you're proposing. And that's what that one is. And then the fourth year, you're really going to be working through the dissertation and moving towards your dissertation defense. The defense of the dissertation is really an examination to show that you have done what was in your proposal, and that proposal, it was done well and to the standards of our program and the standards of your committee. Now, these are just guideposts in terms of the timing, but that is a typical set of timing for students. Okay. So here's some frequently asked questions that we get, and we will take more specific questions later. But in terms of funding, we guarantee the first 2 years of funding. And that means not that you won't be doing necessarily work associated with it, but that we will be ensuring and working with you to get that funding. Now, in the first year, that package is something that we will decide for you, and it typically it doesn't include specific service. In the second year, we open up a variety of other opportunities. As you've been in the program for a year, we encourage students to find their own RA or research positions to begin to, again, tailor what they do to their own interests. But again, we're going to work with you and ensure that you're funded in that second year. Beyond that, the responsibility shifts to the students. And this is intentional in order to, again, we're trying to create independent scientists. So we're shifting that responsibility to students so they begin to take ownership over their own path through the program. There are a wealth of different funding opportunities available. Research assistantships are TA assistantships. Students will also seek and secure external funding via grants. And we work with students in order to do that. And our students are basically 100% funded during the whole time they're here. It's really about shifting that responsibility to the student in order to move that forward. And we're happy to take more questions about that, but essentially all of our students are funded throughout their time period here, with rare exceptions. And but again, it's a focus on shifting that responsibility to the students for the latter parts of their time here. I think I covered that. You go back one. What's the bottom on that? Transfer of course credits. So it is theoretically possible to transfer course credits. There is a process that we go through. If you've taken credits here, those can apply, but they don't necessarily qualify for your core credit load. And Marina, correct if I'm wrong, but you can waive the requirements for performing certain courses if either you've taken them here or you've taken them at another institution and they are deemed to be of sufficient quality and overlap with our current set of courses. Marina, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, except you would still have to make up the credit through other means, but you would not need to retake the courses if that is the case.
Right. So you don't get credits, but you don't have to necessarily take a course again if you have that training and can demonstrate that you have that training. And we mentioned this before, after graduation, about a third go to academia, a third industry, and a third governmental or nonprofit organizations. And many do a postdoc in between there.
Can I add a couple more things to that?
Please, yes.
So the one thing, obviously, we encourage students to do RShip through summers, and some students also seek out internships in industry and other research organizations over the summers. And we kind of help facilitate that to some extent when we learn about opportunities. The other part is about electives. Obviously, University of Washington has a wide range of electives that you can choose from. Starting from next year, we are planning to offer a data science degree option. And the idea there is that we have gathered a set of courses spanning from courses in computer science, information schools, statistics, and our own department. And if you cover those set of courses, then you can get designation of a degree option in data sciences, which would be put on your transcript beyond getting a PhD in health economics and outcomes research. And obviously, as you know, the importance of data sciences and methods, and nowadays, and with all the big data that we have, it's natural that we kind of signal that you have done the coursework and have acquired the methods. Now, our current students already take many of those courses. This is basically formalizing the fact that you did take that set of electives and getting a degree option out of that.
Excellent. And I'll just really quickly cover some of the points in the middle there. So it is possible to supplement your resources by getting outside work. However, that really needs to be balanced with your academic progress. So really need to prioritize academic progress and then supplement after that. We do have minimal progression standards, which are available on the website, which we can speak to. But we really need to, encourage folks to focus on their academic progress as the key priority while they're here. We do not have part-time PhD programs. It is a full-time program. And again, the emphasis is being here and working toward that academic degree. The positions also do include health insurance, so that's a keynote. Okay. So I'm going to go over the application process, and then we will move to the Q&A session. So the deadline is December 15th. All application materials need to be received by that date. Our interview notification period is early to mid-January. We will be conducting interviews in January, sort of mid to late January. We will provide notifications in February. And the acceptance deadline is April 15th. That is a standard across programs. However, we always appreciate letting us know early if you have accepted or if you decide not to accept. That helps us move forward and plan accordingly. And the program start date is late September 2023. So what are some prerequisites and sort of key features of applicants? So the typical academic backgrounds are an advanced degree. So most of our students have an advanced degree. That's a master's degree in epidemiology, economics, statistics, or public health, or professional degrees like pharmacy or medicine with an emphasis on strong quantitative skills. So again, most, if not all, have an advanced degree or a professional degree with a really strong quantitative background. Other prerequisites are they have to meet the minimum graduate school requirements, which is a minimum grade point average of 3.0, although many have above that. That is to say, most have above 3.5. The GRE is not required this year, and we will not be evaluating it if it is submitted in order to keep the playing field level. In terms of English language, if you are a non-native English speaker, you need to demonstrate English proficiency using the TOEFL or IELTS. And here are the minimum scores. If you have taken your degree, if you have degrees from an English-speaking school or university while being in residence at that location, it is possible to waive the non-native English speaker minimum requirement. It has to be in residence at a school that is taught entirely in English in an English-speaking country. Okay. Some application tips. So our application packet includes recommendation letters. So I would reach out to them early so that you're not delayed in getting those in. And when you do so, it's always useful to give them a couple things to help them make that recommendation so it's easy on them. Here's, you can give them, some bullet points about things that you have done together, etc. When you are submitting your CV, make sure it's concise and emphasizes your research skills, data analysis skills, any relevant rotations, courses, presentations that you've given. And if you have leadership experience, please do also note that. It's always useful to highlight projects that are relevant to health economics and outcomes research and publications, even if they're not yet published, if they're in development at some way, please do include those as well. Publications are another strong indicator for our application process. Okay. Here's how to apply. You basically apply directly to the UW Graduate School. There's a link here. You create a profile and a new application. You're a graduate student, so that's the application type. Here is the program information. So you would select that program for admittance in fall 2023. We do not accept mailed application materials, and official transcripts are only required if it offered admission. So you don't need the official ones in order to apply, but they will be required to actually get the offer of admission. Okay. So there is the potential to get application fee waivers. However, that is done by the university at the university level, and it has to be for US students. So there's a financial need fee waiver that's available through the graduate school that you can apply for. They have to be submitted at least 7 days in advance. There's also this Washington State Need Grant Program where it's used to determine financial need. And there's more information at the bottom. Again, this is restricted to US based students only. Okay, with that, we can move towards the Q&A session, unless Marina, Anirban, Yilin, did I miss anything before we move to that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we can go ahead and move to the Q&A session.
Yeah, and so we have received a good number of questions throughout the presentation, so thank you for that. And I will read through the questions, and I would ask my co-panelists to please chime in as I go through the questions. So one question is, do PhD students have to come up with their own research ideas for their thesis, or can they use research ideas from their supervisors?
I can take this first one. Dissertation ideas are generated by the student. Sometimes they arrive through interactions with faculty and research projects that they're on, but this is essentially a student-led program, and you would be expected to be coming up with your own thesis idea and be really the driving force in determining what is a good research question and how you would go about answering that, rather than having one come from the dissertation advisor.
Okay. Sharper asked, do you have specific areas of specialization in health economics, or is it a general PhD in health economics?
I can take that. our specialization is mostly around applied health economics, in the sense that we don't expect our students to develop new theory in microeconomics, but we want them to understand the concepts of economics so that when they approach a problem, whether it's a policy or an allocation of resource or understanding why something is failing in the system, apply those theory to make predictions and then do a quantitative dissertation to kind of assess those predictions using the data. Our students have looked at considerations of what happened when marijuana got legalized in the state, how that shifted other prescription drugs. They have looked at discrete choice experiments to understand how demand changes as certain factors change. So there's a variety of choices that you could use. And we don't focus in one particular area, but the concept is understanding those concepts of economics and then applying them in a specific policy area.
Great. Is the program available part-time? No, it is not.
Thank you. For applicants applying to the PhD program without a master's degree, is it still reasonable to expect that degree requirements can be completed within 4 years?
So the answer is yes. However, again, most of our groups do have advanced degrees or professional degrees. So it would be unlikely that students with, for example, a bachelor's degree only would be admitted to the program.
Yeah,
unless they have substantial outside research experience,
exactly,
or other meritorious aspects to their application packet.
Great. Waylun asked, is our program STEM designated? Yes, it is, which is definitely a appealing factor for international students, as it would qualify for the OPT STEM extension.
Yes, that is correct.
Here's a good question. How does Choice Institute's PhD program differ from the University of Washington School of Public Health PhD program?
I can take that because I was a faculty in that program for some years before I took over the directorship. I think the fundamental difference is a focus on economics. I think our is a little bit more economics oriented. We also have a leg in epidemiology a little bit. I think the PhD program in the School of Public Health has a bigger focus on sociology and organizational theory. Not that they do not do economics, but I think our program is a little bit more inclined to economics. Also, our program is more focused on US healthcare policy than many other programs on campus. Obviously, there's a whole host of other programs that have looked at global health policies. We also have a global medicines program in our institute, but our primary focus has been US healthcare policy.
Yeah, and I'll just add, as my degree is from that program as well, is that their core program doesn't include as much in the way of modeling exercises, economic modeling, some of the courses that are central to our programs.
I might ask Yilin to chime in there, as Yilin has a Master's of Public Health from Global Health here at the UW. So Yilin, do you have any insight on kind of what sets Choice apart from School of Public Health PhD programs?
Yeah, I was going to add, like, I think there are many like sub-tracks under the School of Public Health PhD programs. So for example, they have PhD program in biostats, they have like PhD in epidemiology and in global health, and then they all differ from each other. So yeah, I would encourage you to like take a look at the specific program requirements. And yeah, definitely for the Choice PhD program, we focus more on the health economic side, but also like the pharmaceutical aspect, pharmaceutical policy, evaluation, etc., which is not usually a focus from the other school public health programs.
Yeah, we're also a little bit smaller in our scope, which does create, I think, probably more of a cohort effect, depending on the specific area where you are, yeah, essentially a stronger, smaller cohorts that are all taking and working through a similar program. Okay.
Great. There's been a couple questions about English proficiency. These questions can get pretty specific depending on each person's, academic background. But one question was, if you are attending a master's program that's taught in English outside of the US, but you graduate in July 2023, how do you, qualify for the exemption, and how do you show that on your application? And so there's actually a question in the application process where you have to check how you are demonstrating the English proficiency requirement. So in that case, you would check that you have a degree from a English speaking university. And so that is visible to us. And then I would also suggest uploading documentation from your school. So it's clear to us that your degree was taught in English. So we can take that into account when we are reviewing your application and kind of checking off those boxes for minimum eligibility requirements in regards to English proficiency. And if I don't think I'm going to go in too much more about English proficiency requirements, I would just recommend, if you have specific questions, to email us at UW SOP Choice. We'll have the email address at the end. And to also review Graduate School Memo 8, which goes into very great detail of the different ways to demonstrate the UW Graduate School's English proficiency requirement.
And that link was provided in these slides, so you can go from
there. Okay. Another question, how many PhD students do you select per year? Trying to understand how competitive our selection process is.
We select 3 to 5 PhD students a year. And I believe we had last year 70 applications. I think that's right.
Yeah,
around
72.
There. 72.
Yeah. Here's a question. Have past students worked with the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation for summer research or other projects?
I can take that. So students can work in a variety of institutes here in Seattle. Some, I don't recall, some may have worked in IHME, but I know some of them did work with PATH, which is also a global health oriented organization. A couple of our students have directly worked with the Gates Foundation. They have the Institute for Disease Modeling there, and they have contributed to actual modeling that have led to distribution of vaccines in low and middle income countries. Besides that, there are opportunities at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center, the VA, and the Kaiser Foundations. And this is all beyond research opportunities at the University of Washington itself.
As well as the Department of Global Health. I think Yilin and a number of students have right now has a position in the Department of Global Health. So our students do go out and find and do research projects through many other groups, not just us, and that really is driven by them. We make it a priority to let all of our students know about opportunities that come through. So that's definitely one way that those opportunities are known, but our students are also very resourceful, and as they get ingrained into these programs, often are offered positions because of their skill sets that they develop while here. All right, where are we?
This is a pretty common question that we get, whether students have to finalize their advisor while applying for the program.
No, you do not. So our process does not include linking specifically with with an advisor as a prerequisite for being entered into the program. We admit a set of students based on their qualifications alone, not necessarily their match to an individual advisor. So and individual advisors do not take on students as is the case in other areas. It's a program level acceptance process.
Okay, what is the average age of admitted students, and does the program require work experience?
Average age. So again, it's usually folks who are who have an advanced degree. So I mean, average might be mid to late 20s, but we do get a variety of different students through different areas. Work experience is not a requirement. Research experience in a variety of capacities is an area of emphasis. But not an explicit, there's not an explicit requirement to have outside work experience.
Right. And especially if you're applying with a bachelor's degree, but have good work, research work experience to show for, then certainly that would be a plus.
So
Okay.
the next one is, do we need to contact the intended supervisor? No, again, we do not. You can mention individual faculty members' work that you're interested in, and that's just fine. You know, it's always good to know to know what the faculty is doing, or to see that there are interests that are aligned. So that's certainly something to do, but it's not necessary to explicitly get a supervisor's approval or reach out to supervisors as part of the application process, beyond just trying to understand what certain faculty may be doing.
How many publications do we need to graduate?
So officially, you have to, in order for your dissertation to be accepted, you have to have 2 publishable manuscripts as part of that, one of which has to be submitted to a journal. So we don't actually have to have them published before done, but it's the judgment of your committee that there's at least 2 publishable manuscripts that your dissertation will generate. That said, most of our students, if not all, have multiple publications in a variety of different channels during their time here, whether it's not necessarily first authors, but there's opportunities to participate in manuscript development because there's a lot of projects that are going on. So, I mean, not to set the bar too high, I think one of our recent graduates had over 30 publications or something like that. Now that is an outlier for sure. Most would be more on the handful, you know, around the 3 to 5 range. But the explicit requirement is, again, 2 publishable papers that are generated from your dissertation and 1 submitted.
Great. Can you talk about research done in comparative effectiveness or pharmacoepidemiology at UW? And how would research in this area differ between school pharmacy and school of public health?
Sure. So we already fielded the School of Pharmacy and School of Public Health portion of that. So, some examples of comparative effectiveness or pharmacoepidemiology work. We do have pharmacoepidemiologists that are part of our program. One example that comes to mind is work linking DMV records and crash data to the use of sedative hypnotics or things like Ambien. So one of our faculty looked the link between, again, the use of products like Ambien and whether or not that led to additional car crashes. That's just on the top of my mind. That is certainly an area that is covered by our didactic work and others. There's a variety of comparative effectiveness work that goes on as well. But so there's definitely covered. That's just the top example that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I can also add a little bit. So we have a course in outcomes research where we learn about, you know, network meta-analysis. We also have like courses in health services research using large databases. So we learn, really technical skills in how to conduct pharmacoepidemiology or, you know, comparative effectiveness using different kind of big databases like claims data or EHR registry-based databases. So that is definitely part of our core courses, but also, some of the interest was within the faculty members.
Yeah. Is it anticipated for students to reach out to faculty prior to application? No, it is not anticipated. Through the application process, you will have the opportunity to talk to faculty members. There's so it is not anticipated or needed to do ahead of time. So that will not factor into whether or not you move towards the following interviews. It's okay to do so for informational purposes, but again, it's not necessary because you will have exposure and time to speak with faculty members during the interview process. With global health scopes so yes, global health, we have students who are interested in global health as their area of focus. We like all of our students to come in with an open mind to what they want to do, but definitely students have areas of interest as they come in. And we usually have one or two, or maybe even more students who are interested in global health related topics every year. We also have faculty whose primary interests are in global health and strong links to the global health department. So if that's the area of interest, it is certainly something that would be in the scope and considered to be what would be covered in our program.
Okay, I'd like to ask this question to Yilin. How is the choice program different from other programs in the country, and what sets it apart? So maybe if you can answer that question, but also speak to what you love about choice.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I feel like choice program, first of all, it has the longest history in terms of being, offering the PhD in HEOR, health economics and outcomes research. And then secondly, we have a really, really good connections, with all the faculty members, but also like alumni network. Yeah, we have so many alumni working in different areas in health economics and outcomes research, in industry, in academia, also in the research organization. So I think that is definitely a plus. So for example, in one of our seminar, we invited like different alumni from the academia and from industry to talk about their experiences. So I feel like the connection is definitely a plus. I also want to speak to, the dynamics within the choice program because we are a very small cohort, unlike a lot of other programs in the nation. We only have like 18 PhD students, and we usually have very close relationship with our faculty members, and we usually get support from different faculty members. And as you progress into your PhD dissertation, you also have your own committee, and then with your chair and your committee members. So they're like all there being there to support you along the process. So I think that is another key advantage.
Yeah, and I'll just emphasize, we're a very collaborative group. We really emphasize working together. We have multiple layers of support. When you come in, you have a faculty advisor, but we also have a senior student, a peer mentor. So there's lots of layers of support and ways in which we foster collaboration within our group. So it's definitely a focus of what we do here. There was also a question about the skill set we're looking for from a pharmacy background. We do really appreciate applicants for folks with pharmacy background, given that we are in the School of Pharmacy. It's a really great background. The things that we emphasize for folks with a pharmacy background are research skills, exposure to HEOR topics, whether that's courses or attending conferences or doing short courses, and also some skills perhaps with coding or database analysis. Publications are always great. So again, just some exposure to what we're doing, and then a really like a strong quantitative background and demonstrated quantitative background is again what we focus on. But having that clinical component is a really strong piece to an application and a really good foundation for the program. What are the top 3 strengths of the choice program that set it apart from others? So I think we just spoke to that, but top 3 would be, collaboration, intimacy or connection with faculty, so sort of the ratio of faculty to students, and just an excellent set of courses and core courses that the University of Washington in general provides, but we provide as well.
I just wanted to add to that. I think one of the biggest strengths of our program compared to many of our peers is how much we train our students in quantitative methods. And it's just not one type of quantitative methods. We provide them exposure to a great balance of statistical methods, econometrics, and data sciences. So it's kind of and that gives them a wholesome kind of view of how to approach different problems, in terms of from methods perspective. And our students go through that whole kind of spectrum of core courses and methods that spans those areas.
So a question about concerns about funding. Like I said, all of our students are currently funded. That is historically the case, that students are funded after the second year because there's so many opportunities. That said, if we work with students to get that funding. So if students are having difficulty, we are actively working with students to do that. It is basically just that we do not guarantee that funding because we want that responsibility to shift to the students. So like I said, there's not too much more I can say beyond that, other than to say that our students, there are opportunities for students to get funding, and all of our students are funded during their time here. And so the idea that funding cannot be get is really not something that comes up too frequently, or in terms of how I can't recall a time when a student has not been able to secure funding, and I've been here 12 years. So
yeah, I can also add to that. Yeah, like as far as I see, like usually students at the end of their second year, they usually have a really good selection of like skill sets, and then they also have connections, through working with a lot of different faculty members. So usually if, for example, a faculty member has like an RA project as a research assistant, they can take on, or, they can also be a TA, like teaching assistant, for one of the courses. So I think there are like abundant opportunities here within the choice, but also in other departments, such as global health, public health, and with for example, Josh has connections with ICER organizations. They also have RA opportunities. So yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
And we check in with students and make sure that we have, understand what their funding is for the next year, sort of in the spring quarter of the year prior, reaching out to students who don't have anything yet or haven't told us about it. So we're keeping on top of it. But again, it's mostly about shifting that responsibility. Okay, so that was the last question, I believe. And so with that, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Feel free to reach out to us with additional questions if they do come up. Here is our information. With that, I'll just say we're looking forward to reviewing your applications, and good luck and enjoy wherever you are until we see you in the interview process.
Great. There are two hands in the chat. I don't know if you answered them.
Oh, let's see.
On the attendees, there were two hands. I don't know if they wanted to ask something.
Okay, I have to click allow to talk. So Jude, do you still have a question? You should be able to talk now if you unmute. Or Emeka?
It says their mics are still muted. There you go.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for the great presentation. I really enjoyed it. I have two additional questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
One that what you said about the data science option, could you maybe elaborate a little more on that? Like, what does that entail?
So as you can see, our curriculum requires you to take a certain number of elective courses to complete your degree. The data science option gives you a track in which we have pre-selected certain electives for you, spanning some courses in computer science, statistics, information school, and our own data science courses. And if you take those courses, which would be a part of the electives that would contribute towards your PhD, you would also complete the data science option, which means that you, besides getting your kind of degree in PhD in health economics, on your transcript, you will have a marked as completed data science option, degree option. So you can put that on your resume and get it in your transcript.
Would that is it kind of just like would that just kind of be listed on there, but it wouldn't be like a PhD degree in data science?
No, you will still get a PhD in health economics and outcomes research. It's like you are getting a certificate or an options along with your PhD.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Yeah.
My second question is I'm assuming that you have an admission committee. Is that composed of like different professors at the institution?
Yes, so it's a committee of professors, and then student Yilin is our admissions committee representative from students. She participates on that committee as well. So it's a committee of 6 faculty members, I think.
I see. Thank you so much. That's all. Thank you so much for your efforts in putting together this great presentation. It was super.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thanks for the questions and for attending. All right, I think we have time for one more question. If Amika or Jude want to speak up. If not, we can adjourn. Okay, not hearing a question, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn. Once again, thank you so much for your time and for attending, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Bye, everyone.
Bye.